Sorry to keep you. I hope somebody told you we would come back, that you were just wondering where we were, but we are back. And we are going to have, we're going to do our consent agenda next. Yes, and for people who are used to us doing the Pledge of Allegiance at this point, we did it before our executive session. So probably not too many people were able to join us on that.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as outlined. Meeting minutes were in the packet, and the two warrants were sent around.
Second.
Okay, any questions on the consent agenda? Seeing none, all in favor? That passes 5-0. Thank you. Public comment. This is our period where members of the public can come to our microphone here or our virtual microphone on Zoom and share with us what is on their mind. I don't think we have anybody on Zoom. I don't see anybody clamoring to get to the microphone in here.
Nobody on.
Going once, going twice. Okay. I don't think we have any public comment takers. So we'll move on to our informational updates, starting with superintendent and assistant superintendent.
So as you are all aware, and our NAB families and the NAB staff is aware, on Friday we sent out an announcement welcoming Miss Nina Balf as the next principal at the NAB school. And she's going to be joining us at a school committee meeting later in the spring so that I can formally introduce her to all of you as well. On Tuesday, and we've mentioned this before, but I want to make sure you all have this on your calendar too. On Tuesday after vacation week, the Board of Education will be meeting at Westford Academy because the one student member of the board, voting member, is our very own Eric Planke. And so every year in the spring, the student rep, their district, is able to host the meeting. And so I believe it's at 9 o'clock, but if you're available and can come to Westford Academy, I believe it'll be in the PAC, but we can get all that information to you as well. We had shared with everybody that April is Earth Month, so there's a lot of different opportunities to get involved with the Earth Month celebrations throughout town. I would encourage you to do that. And last week, Principal Boylan had shared with us that they had sent this out from the Miller School. So the REACH program at the Miller School had done a T-shirt fundraiser, and they've actually done it for a number of years. And they're encouraging everyone to wear blue and or wear one of these wonderful T-shirts to celebrate Autism Awareness Acceptance Month, which is also April. And my favorite part of that is that the proceeds from the shirt sale was used to purchase books with the themes of neurodiversity, autism, augmentative communication, and sensory processing. And that those books are going to be donated to the Miller, the Robinson, and the Nabnasset School libraries. And the books have a plate inside that will say, donated by the Miller School REACH program to support our mission of spreading awareness and supporting acceptance. So I thought that was fantastic, and wow. Melissa's here as well tonight. And then the last thing I just wanted to share was that the ADL students, the students who are members of the A World of Difference program at both middle schools, they're going to be participating in the annual ADL Youth Congress in Boston. They're very excited about that. They've done it in the past, and they're excited to do that again this year. The theme this year is Courageous Conversations, and they're going to be working with students from across the state, exploring the nature and impact of prejudice and discrimination, and engaging in activities that will prepare them to have conversations with adults and peers at the school level. So they've continued to be doing their advisory lessons as well, so this is just an annual opportunity for them. So they're really excited about that. That's what I have.
I'd just like to thank the committee for your nod of support for the pilot programs in ELA. The two programs that were selected, EL and Wit and Wisdom, they are receiving an overwhelming amount of positive, enthusiastic, exciting feedback from those pilot teachers. So we're very grateful that we had so many teachers who were willing and able to try it out mid-year. May 24th will be the final meeting where they all come together and share the strengths and weaknesses, and shortly thereafter there'll be a decision that will be recommended to the superintendent and then brought before all of you. But it's really exciting to hear the teachers and the impact that this pilot has had in terms of their teaching and what they're seeing from students. So we're really excited to roll that out. In terms of next year, we're going to look at the timelines to make sure that starting from the first day, a full rollout is most appropriate. We know at the 3 through 5 level, that is certainly the case. At the K to 2 levels, we are looking at should it be done more incrementally with feedback from teachers. We're just going to take a look at that pacing as the year progresses. But all in all, we're really excited and grateful for all of your support, because I know that you were you were supportive at the table, and then I know that there's been other conversations during your walkthroughs as well, kind of highlighting the fact that a program is something worth thinking about, and we haven't had one, so it's really exciting to have something in place. And then I just want to mention the District Art Show. That's Thursday, May 11th at Westford Academy from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. And it's a wonderful experience because it's the combination of a year and many years where K-12 work is all in one spot. So you can see kind of the spectrum of age groups with the various artwork. There's musical performances, there's theater performances, and it's just a really fun event to bring your family. Lots of students attend. I went last year, and it was the first event I could go to post-COVID, and it was such an exciting thing to go out and venture into, and it was so incredibly impressive, and you can just see the work and the dedication that the teachers and the students put in to everything that they do in that domain. So I encourage you to mark your calendars for May 11th.
Great, thank you. And I just checked, mine was already marked. I guess we
All
talked about it
right.
before. I already had it in there.
Good for you.
School committee updates.
Well, policy will be up again shortly, so.
That's just the recurring. You guys are just nonstop. Well,
Just,
yours stop pretty soon, but
well, tangentially related, but only tangentially. Community announcement that the League of Women Voters is hosting Candidates Night on this Wednesday, April 12th. It is back in person at the J.V. Fletcher Library at 7 p.m. and will also be available on WestfordCAT, of course, for people who would like to watch from home or see a recording later. So that's where your community members can get all the information they need about all of the candidates for public office at the town election on May 2nd.
thank you. We'll be watching. Other committee updates. I'll add one. We had a joint chairs meeting with the chairs and vice chairs of Select Board and FinCom, and it was really just to try to get momentum right after town meeting to look at what's coming for the next year. And budget obviously is the big thing that we're looking at as 3 boards together. And so to get a jump start on the budget process, to address what are certainly interesting budget times coming down the pike, we expect. We want to make sure we're being proactive, and so we're going to put together a working group, kind of a town budget working group, to really get a handle on, we already have a handle on our town budget, but to look at that and then look at what other communities are doing as far as what are their allocations to various departments, how does that compare with what we're doing, what might be feasible, what might the priorities be in the future. And so this would be a short working group, short time frame in the next couple months. We're going to make it be short. We really want it to be like a 2-month thing if we can. And so there'll be representation there'll be somebody from Select Board, there'll be somebody from FinCom, and there'll be a member from our committee. And I'd like to appoint Valerie to do that since she's chair of the finance subcommittee. I think that makes sense. And I asked her if that would be okay, and she indicated that she would do that. I told her that I would take something off her plate if possible, because I feel like she would appreciate that. But we appreciate you doing that. I think that'll be really good. I'm glad we're going down that path.
Assuming May 2nd goes well.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I think it was important is that Valerie had also you had shared the information of how some other communities had already
Yeah.
done a similar process like this, which helped to kickstart this conversation as well, too, so.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I
I think it's
certainly
great
have,
that you do that.
have been looking at other communities all year long, so I think it fits right into some of my personal research projects.
Alicia Mallon used to call this being voluntold.
Any other committee updates? Okay, student update.
Okay, so we have a lot going on in the month of April and May, especially for seniors and juniors. In terms of seniors, Capstone started last Friday officially, but today's Monday, we really got things started. So the school was filled with seniors in the library, in the lunchroom, and they were sort of everywhere, so the energy was kind of different at school. It's very exciting. I got to see some murals getting started in the hallway. And yeah, everyone's out and about, and I'm going to be really excited to be able to film all of that, because that's what my capstone involves, is being able to see what other people are doing, and WA Guidance will be posting that, so if everyone wants to get a look and take a look on social media about what people are doing, that is my capstone, so I'm excited about that. And the college decision deadline is approaching by May 1st, so that is very exciting for seniors, a little bit anxiety inducing, but overall it's a really exciting time in general. For juniors, there's junior job shadows coming up. Great time to get some experience, and junior meetings are also happening, so parents, if just be on the lookout for that, for having meetings with guidance counselors. AP exams are also coming up in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, that's really crazy to say.
Wow.
But so those will be happening from May 1st to May 12th. Students are just getting prepared for that. And then something that was really nice was last week, all of our students who are being committed to colleges for sports, they had their second signing day, I believe last Thursday or sometime around then. So that was really exciting to see, highlight like excellence in sports. And so that's sort of what's happening with that.
Yeah, and then there was another event last week. There were actually 3 events. There were concerts held by the orchestra, the band, and the choir over the last week. Those were very interesting concerts. You got to see different aspects of each band. And it was the last concert for seniors, so they're now done with their music career at Westford. And then for DECA, there is ICDC next week, starting on the 21st to the 25th in Orlando, Florida. Hopefully we'll bring home some glass this year. And then also there's the admissions officer from Holy Cross is coming to speak to juniors about the essay writing process and like what you should look for when you're writing your college essay on April 12th, which is, I believe, this Wednesday. And then there's also, like Dr. Chu said, this month is Environmental Month, and the Environmental Club at Westford Academy has these little Loraxes that they're bringing around to classrooms. So if your classroom has a Lorax in it, they're going to ask the teacher if they can turn off the lights for that class, just to, show some, do a thing
Raise
for the environment and raise
awareness, yeah.
awareness. And then finally, as Westford Academy Student Government, the Legislative Council, Student Advisory Committee, and STUCO are working to set up an event where we work with the League of Women Voters to bring in chairs and departments from all over the town. So from school committee, financial committee, planning board, all these other committees, to allow students to interact with these different communities and kind of learn what town government really does and how they can get more involved. So yeah. Exciting stuff.
Excellent.
Good stuff. So much stuff going on.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot.
I feel like you guys should get a break with, it's capstone, you're supposed to be relaxing. You came with more update than you've had in a while, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. And with that, we're moving on to our first item under business, which is our elementary school improvement plans for FY24. We're so grateful for our elementary principals for coming out with us tonight. And welcome whoever's
So our first-
representing
yes.
you all.
Our first crew will be our pre-K to 2
Great.
schools, so Principal Lacoste, Principal Boylan, and Principal Dubois.
And the plans are in the packet for folks at home and
And
for
we're
the
still
committee.
working at just finalizing some of the formatting piece of it, so you might have seen a few different pieces, but we're on it.
I'm going to get us started tonight. And in preparation, as you looked over the plans, you saw that everything is aligned to the Strategic District Improvement Plan, which you're well aware of. And, the first goal focuses on diversity, equity, inclusion, which we know is a very important goal to the Westford Public Schools and an ongoing goal. And as you looked through, the strategies, you can see the alignment with the district equity audit, with the UDL framework, and with the Westford Climate Roadmap. So one of the things that I wanted to highlight, you can see we've talked about culturally responsive instructional practices, and many of us, are using this rubric, which is tied to our evaluation, so that as we're doing walkthroughs and we're helping teachers with that. We've been adding to our diversity, equity, and inclusion the libraries, and we've really, one way that we've organized them too is we've categorized them, and we've talked about race and gender and so many different topics of it, holidays, cultures. So we've taken a good look at that, and we're going to be able now to add to that. And the Neurodiversity Week was really exciting for us this year. That was something new. And I think, like anything else, once you go through it and you've done some of that investigation, you reflect on it and learn a little bit more. So I think we'll all add a little bit more to that. But the biggest thing I want to highlight is this anti-bias bullying blocks curriculum, if anyone wants to take a look at. This was a book that we got, I think it was in the midst of COVID, was that it? And I know what we did at NAB, we had some teachers experiment with it and try it. And then they came back and they shared their lesson. And like anything else, that was just infectious and everybody was excited. And if you look through the table of contents and look at the headings, you'll see that it encompasses a great deal. It's, talking about identity and stereotypes and just so much. So, we put it here because we really want to have more focus on it, and we were talking a little bit more in staff meetings about who's tried what has worked. I've had a teacher work with a guidance counselor, and they've done it, in collaboration. So that's why that's in the plan, because we really want to have more of a focus and have that fit in. And the overwhelming feedback that I've heard from teachers, it's another excellent resource that they appreciate having. Okay, that's goal 1.
So I have goal 2, and much to your surprise, I will try to speak the least amount tonight. And that's because goal 2 is for us to improve the proficiency in ELA and math, using, of course, data to inform our instruction. And really, the reason I'll be speaking the least amount is because we're going to be implementing many of the new resources and curricula for ELA. So that's it. It's an overwhelming amount of work to be done for our teachers, for our curriculum coordinators, and really over the last year, and I would imagine the next few years, we'll continue to spend a lot of time tweaking the work that we have been doing for all these years, and what we've learned have been doing wrong. So we're really undoing a lot of the way in which we teach reading, as I think this committee has learned. And so we've implemented many new curricula already, but still much more to come. And then at the same time, we're still working on implementing math curriculum and moving it forward with looking at data to inform the instruction there, and also individualize plans for students. So it's really been busy for our teachers. There's been really no slowing down.
I didn't plan this well. I hate going after Kevin. So I have the social emotional goal. And, we want to continue to maintain a supportive school that meets the social emotional needs. And again, aligned with the strategic district's improvement plan. We really want to look at, again, analyzing those pressure valve or what can be taken off, especially at the younger age. We want to balance those school-related pressures for the children. And then I think we're all doing I think, a great job with spirit. Is at a school level, we incorporate it in our community meetings. There's, we have all our own little unique twists on it. Some of us have a spirit class in the rotation, but really then building and going beyond that. We have early arrival that's associated with school, PTO events, really being able to incorporate our core values into everything we do in the building. And then lastly, I wanted to highlight the panorama surveys, and really, taking that data, really taking it for all the value that it has, and then being able to implement some plans and ideas. And so just, to give an example, as we're going through that panorama data from the fall, and we meet with our adjustment counselors and administration, and we kind of go through on first at a surface level and then deeper. And so we'll check anyone that came out with, one of the ratings. We'll be like, are these people on our radar? Are these people? And luckily, everyone, was already, the adjustment counselor had a relationship with them, whether it was some, general ed intervention or a lunch bunch or, just check-ins. But then as you look a little bit further, one of our scores that was lower, and at Miller, it was, 57%, and it was about 3 points lower than the district average, was self-efficacy, their belief that they can do well. So from a tier 1, our guidance lessons really shifted and did a bigger chunk of time on growth mindset, right? So then we can attack it from that tier 1 level and then build upon that. So really making sure, like Kevin said, using that data to inform our instruction, not only from an academic standpoint, but also from that social emotional standpoint. And then the teachers do their survey for sense of belonging, and really being able to implement changes for that. So at the end of last year, we noticed that, our new teachers had a lower score. Well, they were new to the building. So what can we do? Is it, staff breakfast, have the buddy teacher next door, just bring them so it's not as overwhelming. Little things that you can do to really incorporate our staff sense of belonging. So, any questions?
Well, I'm going to open it to questions, but I just want to comment. Thank you for giving us like really tangible examples of how you're using that data and then turning it around and making changes. That's really wonderful to hear.
Great.
And I feel related to that, Gross, I feel like that's one thing that we've talked about a lot, which is like, how do you quantify social emotional learning, right? And it's because I feel like every school talks about it. And we've made it an important part of, the superintendent's made it an important part of his vision, and so it's nice to hear how that's being worked in and quantified.
Right. And I think at such a young age, it's really embedded into everything we do, but being able to have some of these key pieces, to be able to look in deeper. And at the pre-K to 2 level, or the K to 2 level, it's teacher perception. So the teachers are filling out for the students, so then we can dig deeper, and then, historically, if one year, the student was doing well, and the next year you're like, oh, you can dig deeper into that as well. So it's a lot of checkpoints in place.
You guys, you may not know this at all, but when the reading, implementing the new reading techniques was brought up, I was just wondering if you possibly had any examples about, when we say implementing new reading techniques, is it different books, different curriculum, different way of assessing, what sort of? I was just wondering if you guys knew that. If not, yeah.
The science of reading has really put a glaring light on the way in which we have taught reading to children over the last several years. And so we've been doing things in a way that wasn't certainly harmful to them, but certainly wasn't the best way to meet the needs of all students. And so we weren't providing students really with the phonemic awareness and the phonics skills that they really did require in order to become mastery readers. And then of course there's the language components at the older level, which I won't steal 3 to 5's thunder with their next SIP update, but there's that next component too, that is equally important that has just been missed out on. Again, it hasn't been harmful to our student achievement, but it certainly means that we're missing a wide range of population. And furthermore, by implementing these practices, we can see a reduction, hopefully, in students requiring special education services or interventions over time. And then I think even more important than that is just seeing more successful readers who are able to access all various types of reading necessary to be successful. That's the short version, but there's a great podcast that you should listen to that
Yeah.
really opens your eyes quite a bit to your experiences, even yourselves,
Yeah.
as learners, young learners reading, and and what we can and should be doing differently, which will take a while, which is why I tried to emphasize that in a short way, and now much longer way.
Okay, what's the name of the podcast?
It's Science of Reading, right?
Oh, it's just called Science of Reading.
No,
No.
it's,
Sold a story.
Sold a story.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you. Questions?
I think it's so exciting to hear about everything that is happening at the foundational schools of our district and for our students, and so much of, I think, for students who have spent their whole academic career in Westford, so many positive memories start in one of these three buildings. And it's just really exciting to hear everything that's happening for our youngest learners. So thank you for supporting them, and I appreciate, all the specific things you touched on and mentioned, providing those windows and mirrors in our library and through the reading, the advances that we're making through the science of reading, the attention that is being paid to social and emotional support for both our students and our staff. So many things you highlighted are just really exciting, so thank you.
I appreciate it. One last quick story is we had a student today that was so excited because she read her first page of a book and was wanting to go around the entire school and would talk to anybody. Want to hear me read this page? Want to hear me
She
read
just
this
didn't want to go to
page?
math.
Yeah. Maybe that's what it was, man. Science at reading at work, I hope. Anyway, thank you.
Do you mind? I just, it was really actually refreshing to read the plan. It just feels, I love the fact in the spirit of, we have a 2-page district improvement plan. We don't have much of a bigger one for the school improvement plan. It just felt very nice and cohesive, and like really hit home with the trying to kind of, what can we take away and be really mindful about what we're doing. There was just two points that I kind of queried about. One was just more of the 3 to 5s included, which I thought was really nice. Very clearly it tied into the STIP anyway, but they actually kind of noted, the 1.2 or the 1.3, what particular components. And I was just wondering if that's maybe something we could consider, if doing it, to have that kind of continuity, which I found quite nice actually on the 3 to 5s. The one question that really kind of resonated with me, or area that I was looking at, was I see you're planning on kind of revising the progress reports this year, and so I'm just curious as to kind of what that looks like. Is that kind of suggesting we might have new updated report cards, or what was that kind of as we were?
So, we have standards-based report cards.
Yeah.
So the standards don't
Stay the same.
Don't change.
Yeah.
But what we're hearing from staff, and with the new shift of reading, that some of our benchmarks that we use for grading purposes just might need to be adjusted to align with some of these new, initiatives and research that's been done to align those.
An update.
And updates.
Yeah.
Okay. So that some families then, when they get the report card in, when is it, November, December, it might looks like there might be 1 or 2 based on the new reading program that we're going to be implementing in the fall. Or
The report cards will still be the same because it's
sorry.
the standards.
Standards are the same.
It's just the way we measure
the way you measure
our
sorry.
benchmarking.
Okay.
In regards to some of it is based off of a little bit of guided reading and guided reading levels.
Okay.
And so with our shift, we just need to
measure.
shift that as well.
It's the different descriptors that the teachers are looking at as they prepare to
Yeah.
do them.
So parents won't see it different, but how you measure it. Perfect. Sorry. Thank you for clarifying this.
Good. Are you set?
I don't know. Maybe I'll chat for another while.
All right, I'm going to cut you off then.
Stories.
I'm going to cut you off. Because actually, you gave me a segue about parent visibility, because you guys do so much, right? And this document is it feels so comprehensive. And I know most of your day is spent putting out fires and, rubbing backs of little ones and stuff. But these are some really heavy things, strategies that you're pushing our district towards. And so, obviously, we read them documents, and I know everybody has great SAC groups that read the documents, but your average parent may not. And so I just wanted to encourage, I know that you get tidbits into the Friday emails about the work that happens. I just want to encourage that to keep going so that more families can appreciate what sort of strategic work happens in the buildings day to day. I had another question. Oh, really exciting to think about the what comes off the plate one. I think there's been a kind of a buzz about that when it came up through the SDIP. So that's exciting. And I really appreciated that, at least on, I think I saw for the success measure for that one was like a staff and parent survey. So I really love anytime there's like that feedback, right, to get a touch point from our families and staff. Let me see. I think that was it. I had a question about what ADL activities are at PK2, but your book answered that, so that was great. You read my mind. And I just had a question about how kindergarten enrollment looked. Any surprises, or is looks average?
Yeah, no,
Okay,
they're still rolling in, but.
good. And I looked at the enrollment numbers, but that Robinson first grade looks a little tight. Are you crossing your fingers all summer long?
Yes.
We're actually, now that we've got, a more solidified enrollment for next year, sort of solidified, we are actually looking to shift one of the sections to Rise. So it's not an additional section overall, but it will go to Robinson second grade for next school year.
Okay, great. I'm sure that will be a welcome news.
It's very welcome.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Can I just say, I think we would be remiss if we didn't
Yes.
say thank you to
Yes.
Ms. Dubois. She does not want to fuss.
We're
However, this is, as she begins to think about next year, this will be her last
Your last
school improvement
SIP.
plan
Part of
presentation.
Thank you.
It's not too early to start the tour and all the hoopla, so thank you. It's been a
She
pleasure.
really doesn't like the
and-
hoopla.
I know. A little bit, though.
Yeah, yeah.
We appreciate all
It's
you've done.
been my biggest pleasure. Thank you all.
Thank you. And come back and visit us.
Or don't.
Okay, our 3 to 5 principals.
Do we decide if we vote on them?
We're supposed to.
Yeah,
So then
I should have
we'll-
prefaced it with that. But
Yeah.
So Principal Sardella, Principal Kennelly, and Principal Meyerson. Uh-oh.
Oh, okay.
It's next level organization.
Segueing with the pre-K to 2 team, and ours, you'll notice, looks a lot similar to theirs, as we tried to work together as a cohesive team to continue the thoughts and processes so we have it continuous through our grade levels. And some of this is still a draft, so we'll add some things and tweaks to it, but we wanted to share our highlights tonight. So Chris?
Right, so I'm building off of what Susan Dubois has already presented about increasing the knowledge of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we have had a great professional development opportunity for staff last year in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so we felt like we were at a point where we wanted to roll out some of these ideas and lessons to the students. And that's why we chose to pilot the ADL curriculum as a resource. So in addition to what teachers had already been doing in their classrooms, this resource has really helped to provide an excellent framework for teachers to develop lessons and to think about what can be really weighty topics in diversity, equity, and inclusion, especially when it gets to bullying and those types of more weighty topics. So in thinking about releasing the pressure valve, which is in goal number 2, or is it 3? The social emotional, I think it's 3. Yeah, in 3. At the day school, we were thinking about a creative collaboration approach with the ADL curriculum because it can be overwhelming to have to plan all of those lessons if you are a single classroom teacher. So perhaps the grade 3 team, 4 or 5, can get together and decide this teacher is going to plan this lesson and and then they can use that across the grade level. And so that will help to release some of that pressure and that they can work collaboratively together to bring that forward. One of the things that I also wanted to highlight in this goal is a website that was created. So it was a cross-district collaboration. A day school teacher, Sarah Revelis, an Abbott school teacher, Jessica Evangelista, and a NAB teacher, and I can't remember who that person was, but they created a website which is highlighting diverse books in various categories. And it's not complete, but it's very helpful to teachers who would like to find resources for their classroom in planning the lessons. And we're hoping that we have some time devoted to that, perhaps in a professional development opportunity. The last thing that I would like to highlight is we have all had successful Neurodiversity Week celebrations in our schools, but the School Advisory Council would like to encourage cultural celebrations across the board. So neurodiversity is important, but how can we also include others as well, and at least a day, in encouraging the day school parent community. If they have an idea, certainly we welcome that, whether it be a Diwali event or Lunar New Year or any other cultural celebration, we certainly would support that. Okay.
All right. Thanks. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Goal 2, which was to continue the work to improve math and language arts proficiency, and Kevin did a great job talking basically the K through 2 aspect, but as a 3 through 5, the teachers are incredibly anxious to get a new curriculum. I'm coming on board this year, being new, doing many classroom visits. I mean, they are covering the standards, but in all different kinds of ways. And I can just imagine, I see that in just Abbott, so I can just imagine district-wide the different strategies they bring from previous experience, previous curriculums. So it's going to be nice to have just a K through 5 curriculum that we're going to see consistency from K to 5, and then when they all go to middle school, they walk into middle school with the same background, which I think is very important. I think they'll have that. And so, having gone through a few classroom visits where they are piloting this program, it's quite different than what we're doing now. It's a lot of response to literature. It's good literature. It does some UDL practices embedded, which they don't even know they're doing, but these new curriculums have that embedded, so we can really show off that we're working on that. And you just feel the excitement in the building, because they know they'll have something next year. And they're very excited. From my first day, that was the first thing I talked about was reading and writing program. And now, district came through, so it's very exciting. So, and again, the teachers who are piloting, the curriculum staff that's been working these past 2 months of getting this off the ground and really going, so it's really appreciated by the staff. And so that's basically the highlight of that. Another one we've done a lot of work this year was our math data meetings with iReady. iReady is a new tool we've been using, and it's really, teachers have really liked it because just gives them so much information regarding math and where the students are, and then they can build lessons off where the students are, so they really can meet their students where they're at. If the kids need a little extra support, they know where they're at. If kids have already, reached the benchmarks, they know they can go beyond that benchmark with those kids. So and we've been using our staff meetings to really train the teachers, and so it's been working very well for that. So that's about Goal 2.
So moving into social emotional, it's like my nearest and dearest thing to my heart. We always say kids can't access curriculum if they're not emotionally ready to do that. And I think Chris has heard this forever because I've had your children at Chris Fully. So bouncing off of what the pre-K to 2 uses Panorama, their teachers do that. Our kids take the Panorama surveys themselves. And as a part of a way to equalize the playing field for all of our students, every student has the survey read to them at our schools so that they have an understanding of the question. Because you can't imagine a kid sitting there reading some of the questions going, I can't read this, what's the good? So we've implemented at the 3 to 5 level that the teachers read the questions to the students. It will answer questions and clarify the directions and vocabulary that the students might not understand, so we can get a true reading of what the students are actually thinking and hearing. And taking that data, analyzing with our guidance counselor, our adjustment counselors, our classroom teachers, and just like Melissa had alluded to, most of the kids that were in the lower scoring parts we know, and we have them on the radar. Those that we don't know that might pop up, we're making a plan of action with the classroom teacher, the guidance counselor, the adjustment counselor. one of the things we're working really hard to implement, not to put another thing on the plate, but taking the playbook lessons. So this year we've tried to pilot a little bit. Chris Foley, we took couple of the lessons. I gave them 2. I modeled 1 of taking. I made a little note here. The positive self-talk chart. So as a group, if you say, I can't do this, well, I can't do this yet, I need to practice my math facts for 5 minutes a night. So do a group lesson with the class, and it can be done during morning meeting. Like take the negative, turn it to a positive, and then the students were encouraged to write their own chart from the playbook. And the lessons are really succinct. I've worked with Brian Rourke a lot on that piece, and they're not like, they can be right in morning meeting, they can be at the end of the day, they can be a little take-home activity, which is a great resource in Panorama. And I did that one because our grit was at 58%, so we really needed to build that up at Chris Foley. So taking that data and really saying, yep, you don't feel good about that right now, but how can we get there to make ourselves feel better? So I think utilizing that data for Panorama, we've worked hard as a district in its teams to really dig down to that social emotional piece and quantify what we're finding with kids. Keeping our spirit. We love our community meetings and our literature books that we tie all of our community meetings into for spirit or district-wide core values. We did really enjoy the Neurodiversity Week, and I loved highlighting that. There's enrolling out some Earth activities for the end of the month for April for our community meeting, while the kids want to know who else is neurodiverse, who else has a cultural difference, who else. So they really sparked their interest too with our libraries that we've tied into with the UDL and our Windows and Mirrors libraries that we're all developing in our schools. So I think maintaining that and keeping the lines of communication open and talking to each other, talking to staff. We've had staff tap in, tap out. You know when someone's not feeling good. You go, you know what, go take 5 minutes and we'll come back to you. Or they do if they feel comfortable enough to call down and say, I need 5 minutes. And so somebody will go. So I think incorporating the Panorama data, the school district improvement plans, the spirit lessons, just bringing that together, knowing that everyone has somebody in our school is important.
And so for goal number 4 is utilizing the Westford Climate Roadmap. We will work to increase sustainability initiatives within our school community. And really, and looking at this, we have so many things that are already going on at the elementary school level. And building on the legacy of former staff members like Carol Shostak, in thinking about, the platform that was created over Reed Brook, for example, is an excellent way to get kids out into the schoolyard habitat to learn about natural environments. She also had created the rain garden at the day school. In thinking about the plantings that go into our gardens to make sure that they're native plants. And I was thinking about a possibility of partnering with an organization like Mass Audubon to bring a natural and residence program to the school, just as an idea to get kids out into their environments and to figure out how they can be sustainable that way. But we also have initiatives that are ongoing at each of the 3 to 5 schools, like our school garden program, the possibility of having environmental clubs. We want to make sure that that continues. And then the STEM lessons that are already happening based on the framework. And so in 3rd grade, they evaluate the merit of a design solution that reduces the damage caused by weather. Grade 4 obtains information to describe that energy and fuels humans use are derived from natural resources. And then 5 is obtaining information about ways communities reduce impact on the Earth's resources. So these lessons are already embedded into the curriculum, and we want to make sure that we highlight those as well. And then lastly, identifying short-term and long-term goals in which the schools can support Westford climate initiatives. For example, ideas to reduce fuel use in the schools. And so a lot of this is going to come with the feasibility study that's already been implemented, and getting kids to be aware of how they impact the environment and what they can do at a local level.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'm going to open it to questions from the committee or comments. Varun?
I had a quick question about the sustainability. So I remember, at least when I was in elementary school, we had the living lab where we had the opportunity to go to day school and like explore the different environment and stuff. So I was wondering, with the Mass Audubon, are you planning on like integrating that into the living lab, or like how?
So it's just an idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, our schoolyard habitat is ready and waiting to be explored. And many teachers already go outside. I'm sure it happens at Crisafulli and Abbott as well. But when you can partner with an organization like Mass Audubon, they have a naturalist in residency programs that can help to highlight that and actually naturally bring professional development opportunities for teachers.
Cool. Thank you.
Laura.
So I've been hearing these presentations for 6 years, and this is the final year I'll be hearing them from this side of the table. And it's amazing to me the degree to which they have changed in terms of the collaboration between the schools. And I think that is such a strength for the district and for our students, because when I first joined school committee, one of the most common things you would hear from parents is, why is this school doing this way and this school does it that way? Or I've just moved across the town and everything is different, or my the cousins live across town and it's so different for them than it is for my kids. And I don't hear that anymore. Not the same way that we used to. And the amount of consistency, I think, that helps students as they move through our district, K through 12, having that consistency across the schools, having even that collaboration on a team grade level, hearing the stories about how staff are collaborating to share those ADL lessons and develop those and share those. That's giving all of our students a common language with which to discuss those really difficult issues. Hearing that teachers are supporting each other from across the district in different buildings to help develop those libraries with diverse books that show those windows and mirrors. There's a spirit of collaboration and consistency across the district that is amazing to see, and I think it strengthens the district, and I think it's going to strengthen the student experience as the students move through the different schools, and I think we will really see that impact as those students do start coming together at Westford Academy, because they've all had a more common experience. So thank you for providing that foundation.
Megan?
Yeah, I wanted to echo what Gloria was. I wanted to say two things. The first was that I wanted to echo what she was saying in the sense that since we went to school, it looked obviously very different. But the level to which we are focusing on social emotional learning is incredible, because I was just babysitting today and I was checking the homework calendar that typically parents receive, and I'm looking and there's this Google form, and on there it's for the students and it's saying, did you sleep good last night on a scale of 1 to 5? Do you feel like you're ready to start your day academically on a scale of 1 through 5? And I'm looking at these questions and I'm like, that's genuinely, that is the ultimate social emotional learning. Are you ready to come into school and be your best self? And there are also, I think that when we are being asked to put language to how we feel, we become ready to we become more empathetic in the adults, we become more understanding adults when we start being able to voice our feelings, and when we start being able to enter a day with a positive mindset. And so that sort of shift that even I can see, when I'm just going about my job, is really interesting, and it's really incredible, genuinely. So I wanted to highlight that. And the other thing I wanted to say was, when you were talking about science, I just remembered that the STEM fair is happening, at least at the day school. I don't know about the others. Yeah, and I'm asking my kid, I'm like, yeah, what's yours about? What are the other kids doing? It is genuinely incredible, the stuff that these kids are. She's talking about some calcium phosphate and dental work, and I'm like, when we did it, we were just trying to see what was going to turn into what color. Like, and they're talking about candy dispensers, and they're talking about how certain products affect your teeth, and I'm like that is the true level to which, or the degree of imagination that our students are reaching through STEM, through literature. It's definitely shown a lot of growth in our education, and I just wanted to compliment that, mention that.
I mean, I don't even know how to.
No one ever wants to go after
I was
me.
gonna say, you're talking about all this
It's
growth.
like full circle, right? Like,
Well, I was gonna say, you've talked about all this growth, but obviously, they
You
did a
are
pretty
the
good
group.
job when you were there as well.
Good point.
All right, who's going next?
oh man.
That was a good that was a good plug for the STEM fair
Yeah.
too, because we did forget to mention.
It's not just like the potato battery anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I breezed through
Although those are
day
good
on
too.
my way here, and it was like robots and lemonade dispensers built into a wall. I mean, it's really cool. I just want to echo the message that I had for K-2, which is all this work getting some visibility to families, because I just don't know. I have such a deep appreciation for all of this work that's happening on top of your day-to-day jobs. So I think building that is really important. I love seeing that the surveys at K-2 are parent and staff, and then at 3 to 5 you really tap into like student voice, right? Because they're old enough to tell you, well, not that K-2 is not old enough to tell you how they feel.
Just depends on the day.
3 to 5 really having that ownership and that belonging of, oh, I got to give my answer of how I felt about something. I think it was on the spirit activities. I think that's really cool. Overall, I would just wanted to say that I think it's really exciting to see our STIP come to life in this way, because one feedback I got when we approved it last month was just that it felt a little pie in the sky, right? Like who owns these? When is it going to happen? What does it look like? And this is the work of it, which you had been telling us all along, but now it's really nice to just see it. That's all.
Yeah, kind of what Valerie said and a lot of stuff. One of the questions actually, well, there's one question and then just a comment. The panorama data, I have to say tonight, from both the whole way up K through 5, it was really lovely to see that you've used that data and it's absolutely in through the goals, because there's no point paying for it if we're not going to use it. As to do Alicia, we're quoting Alicia a lot tonight, not to smile and file, as Alicia likes to say. And one of the things I just wanted to check in, how often are we doing the panorama? And excuse me for being kind of a bit ignorant, like the data we're using right now, kind of when was that based, and when do you anticipate kind of maybe doing another round of data gathering, because obviously this helps us with our improvement planning.
We do it November and December, like in that time period.
Okay.
And then we analyze that piece. Brian then, we meet with Brian to talk about those pieces. We're doing the second round, end of April, May. Well, looking at allowing us to tweak some of the questions to get better information from our students, but taking the same information and being able to say, okay, did we grow?
Yeah.
Did we not grow? Where do we need to grow more? So we work a lot with Brian on those pieces. So we've shortened it over time, because it was very lengthy at one point. And so you get to question 40. I don't even know what I'm answering anymore. So he's been really instrumental in helping us formulate it in a way that we are getting the most information we can in a short amount of time while the kids are sustaining.
Yeah.
So it usually takes about 20-25 minutes at the 3 to 5 level.
Well, the fact that that data is kind of November, December, and it's influencing your plans already in April is amazing to see. So thank you for that. And hopefully, just to say, I'm assuming we're going to ask Brian at some point before the end of the year to maybe share with us the panorama, kind of what he's on his fact-finding missions this year, what he would have found. So that would be awesome. The one other thing I just wanted to point out, and really as well to all of you, and this is where I put my CPAC hat on for a second. I was so excited when I opened the packet to see all of you had embraced the Neurodiversity Celebration Week and had actually put it on your improvement plans. And, sometimes I think we talk about CPAC and we don't really always know what they do. This whole thing started with a conversation in a CPAC meeting last September or October, and to see it now actually, the schools have totally run with it, and what came out of there, it's amazing to see. So I think it's just nice for CPAC parents to see that, yes, your voice matters, and that you can influence the schools for better, and just, when you hit on something so exciting and the staff just truly run with it and see the merit of it, it's really appreciated. So thank you for that.
Anything else? Okay. To wrap up, thank you. The collaboration is amazing, as Gloria said. I think we've seen that grow over the years, and it really comes through in the presentation and also in the plans. And so we appreciate that. We appreciate all the work that the SACs have done to put into this. And again, it's exciting to see the SDIP come to life in this way and see how these things flow. And I think it's been nice. This is the first time we've had it kind of flow out of that and have, we can kind of see how the schedule is going to work. Like, oh, we get these done at the end of the year and then they apply to the next year. And so I'm excited for all of that. So
And we're
thank you.
hoping that I think the teachers are going to now be able to see, just like you saw identifiable things in the SDIP that you could connect your school improvement plan to, that now teachers can find very specific initiatives and get excited about one of those to then help kind of guide what their goals will be for next year.
The last thing I was just going to say is, we were talking about this at the end of last week, and the recommendation is that we vote on accepting the school improvement plans. And then the only question I have is, you talked about like, oh, there's a few more tweaks to be made. Do we feel like the substance, the content is basically where it's going to be at, and that we could, we could feel comfortable voting on the content, and it's.
Yeah, the only difference you'll see is like all of like their goals, they worked on their goals together, and so there might be like, there might be a typo in one versus in another one, but the spirit is there, and they all have been working with their SACs. I think some of them were able to put the names of the members in, and some of them just hadn't put those in yet. But those are like the really minor kind of differences that you'll see there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I certainly, oh, go ahead.
No, good.
I certainly wouldn't propose we bring you all back. It's just if the committee wanted to revisit a final one later or whatever, we can always put the final ones in the packets.
That's right.
at
And
a
if
later
you,
time as well.
I mean, Catherine had one question about for the K-2 schools about the way in which the 3 to 5 schools just identified. Like, I know that they did that, like, and it's all there. They can attach it to each one. They just didn't cite it in the same way. So if that's kind of the will of the committee to do that, they could easily do that exact same thing that the 3 to 5 schools did as well, too. Because again, it doesn't change
for
it.
teachers and for parents and for, I mean, we've even talked about like trying to do something similar with agendas and stuff, so.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to trace those.
Well, what's nice is that if your school improvement plan connects each initiative to the ISDIP, right? Then a teacher just needs to identify your initiative. They don't have to then actually write all the numbers, because we know that will follow each other. So I think that's kind of to your point, if we know that they're there. But the K-2 schools, they connected to them in the same way. They just didn't.
Oh, yeah.
They just didn't articulate.
It was very obvious as you were reading through them.
Yeah.
Well, because I was very aware of the
Right.
SDIP.
Yeah, you know what you know what it is.
One of the things that we're working on as an addendum is a glossary of terms, because the School Advisory Council has said, and the parents and the committee, there's a lot of edu-speak in the school improvement plan. So what is an equity audit, or what does culturally responsive practice mean? And that's something we certainly can easily develop collaboratively and then add that as an addendum, especially if it's going to be available widely to the parent community.
Could we also connect in with LPAC on that? Because I think that would be really important to get that kind of translated for our families in the district. Because sometimes as well that, not just the edu-speak, then you add that language barrier and you can really confuse. So that would be amazing if we could do that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I think going along with that would be things like the programs, like we talk about iReady and we talk about Panorama,
Right,
and we talk
right,
about
all of that would be
Dibbles,
included.
but yeah,
Give a link.
for parents to understand, oh, this is what they mean when they talk about Dibbles, like that would be helpful.
Yes, links as well would be helpful.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be great.
And then in future years, there'll be less to update, right? There'll be, you put all this work in up front, but then it'll be incremental changes each year after that.
Right.
A lot of that will persist year after year, so that's nice as well. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be a great resource.
So,
I just wanted to mention that the equity audit is mentioned and will be on the select board's agenda for April 25th, ARPA funding.
thank you.
Could I ask one thing, actually, that maybe in 12 months' time, I'm just kind of, one of the things I'd love to do is kind of like that, we've been beginning to talk a lot about cycles and how the SDIP and everything follows in. what I would love is, you know, next year when we're back kind of looking at, okay, our improvement plans for the following year, to maybe take a minute and kind of review this and say, oh, look, this worked really well, this didn't, you know, kind of to just kind of give us all a snapshot of how you guys felt. Obviously not you, Mr. Bois. You'll be hopefully on a beach somewhere. But to kind of just give us a snapshot of how you guys are feeling that this kind of new approach with the school improvement plans are working, and you know what would be more helpful, or even just the resources and the meat of what's in there to kind of give us a
Historically,
Yeah.
what we did is we would have a progress of the previous year and then
Yeah.
the highlights for the next year.
Yeah.
And I asked them not to do that because
Yeah.
we've been developing all of this, and so, but you're right, because and then we can just kind of truncate that a little bit. And
Exactly.
that's the process they already go through with the SACs.
Exactly, yeah.
Because the SACs are helping them develop the next plan while they assess the progress on the
Yeah.
previous plan. So, yeah, we can do that.
And we're going to keep trying to get you all community members. That's like a personal goal of mine.
Mine came tonight. Buffy Dierks is here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we still missing community members?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I've got 2 people in mind.
Nice.
So we'll get text messages later.
Okay.
You know the people I'm going to
Oh,
hound.
okay.
So, do I have a motion to approve the,
Motion to approve the elementary school improvement plans for FY24.
Second.
okay, any final discussion on that? All in favor? Great.
Wholeheartedly.
Oh.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Thanks for coming out tonight.
Amazing work.
Next agenda item, potential statement of interest with Mass School Building Authority. We talked about this last time, and the committee has seen a draft statement of interest, but we're not voting on the language of that draft. We are letting that evolve, and we would be looking at a vote to just approve the submission of the statement of interest, because it is detailed, and we're not going to get into the details on the wording and everything like that, but the spirit of whether we want to move forward with submitting the SOI. Any questions on that?
Are you all happy? Because what are we calling that group? The feasibility group?
There's no name.
There's no name?
No name.
You mean just our working group?
Your working
Yeah,
group?
yeah.
Like, you guys you're happy with it, and I
We're
mean,
still
you
in
know-
it's still
Yeah.
in progress. So
Okay.
the deadline is Friday.
Okay.
So there has been a lot of collaboration going into it so far, but there are still 4 questions that I think we really need to just look and see, okay, wait a second, what additional information, what really should we be placing here? What is it that they're asking for? But it's, as you can see, a bunch of it's redundant, right? Like, it's like asking you, okay, well, how do you plan to assess that problem that you just said you had this problem before? But yeah, so we're continuing to meet and work on that, and it will be all finalized and ready to go. Your vote is to authorize me to be able to submit an SOI for the Robinson School. Yeah. And we will have the final one. We can share it with all of you as well too. It's just about there's a couple of TBA questions that we just want to collaborate on.
No, I think we had a good detailed discussion last meeting.
Okay.
This is a really exciting process. It's a long-term process, but it's long-term planning for the future of the school district, and it's vitally important. And if we can secure MSBA funding to support those future needs of the district, so much the better. So, yeah, it's to the benefit of the schools and town and all of our future students who will benefit from it.
It's the first step in what could be a very lengthy process. If it goes well, it'll be a lengthy process. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm glad, we don't have too much discussion because
It's a
we
really
have to
long
save a lot of
motion.
time for the motion, so you have your copy, yeah.
I do.
Would you like to make it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where to start, though.
Resolve.
The very beginning, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Get comfortable.
All right.
Yep.
Resolved, having convened in an open meeting on April 10th, 2023, prior to the closing date, the School Committee of Westford, Massachusetts, in accordance with its charter, bylaws, and ordinances, has voted to authorize the superintendent to submit to the Massachusetts School Building Authority the statement of interest dated April 14th, 2023, for the Colonel John Robinson School located at 60 Concord Road, Westford, Massachusetts, which describes and explains the following deficiencies and the priority categories for which an application may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future. Priority 5, replacement, renovation, or modernization of school facility systems such as roofs, windows, boilers, heating, and ventilation systems to increase energy conservation and decrease energy-related costs in a school facility. And priority 7, replacement of or addition to obsolete buildings in order to provide a full range of programs consistent with state and approved local requirements. And hereby further specifically acknowledges that by submitting the statement of interest form, the Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance or the approval of an application, the awarding of a grant, or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or commits the City-Town Regional School District to filing an application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority.
I missed that last part. Will you read it again? Sorry. What, do you need a second to be finished?
We need a second. That's
Second.
the motion.
That's the motion.
And a second. Any final questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor? Okay, 5-0. Thank you. And so now this goes to the select board. Oh,
Right, so we need to, so the select board will have they'll have to take a similar vote tomorrow night. It will require your electronic signature, Chris, my electronic signature, and if the select board votes to approve it, then it would require the town manager's electric signature, and the town clerk needs to certify the vote from the select board, and your vote needs to be printed on school committee letterhead with the outcome of your vote.
which I just.
And that's what that is?
We just did
It's
that.
on
Yep.
that?
Yep, I
Okay,
signed
good.
that, so that
So
was-
that's signed, okay,
yeah.
perfect. So we'll upload that PDF, right.
Okay. And just so people know, you might have gotten the invite for a joint meeting tomorrow night with Select Board. It's not going to be a joint meeting because we don't have anything to deliberate. I will be there, you will be there. You are encouraged and welcome to attend virtually or in person, but it's really just for the Select Board to vote. There's nothing additional that we need to provide since we've taken this vote tonight, and that's sort of the end of that.
Okay.
And so that is no longer a joint meeting. The agenda should have been revised, I believe, already.
There is one additional piece of the SOI that I don't know if it's visible in the draft, but any SOI that you do with the MSBA, they have a closed schools section, and so we have to verify whether or not we had closed, sold, or taken out of service any schools within the last 10 years, or anticipate doing that in 10 years. And so one of the differences is that technically Millennium was a school with preschool students in it. So I did have to fill out that section saying that, we're no longer using it as a school with students in it. And so you'll have to do an electric signature for that. I will as well, as will the town manager. So those two pieces, it's just embedded in it as this additional process, but
Okay.
that's all it is.
Great. We'll keep working on that this week then. All right, policy update. We've got 2 revised policies in our packets.
Do we explain anything? I don't have to, what is it, waive the first reading or anything? Is that, do I start with that, Gloria?
You can start with
There
that
we
if you'd
go.
like.
Start with.
So, motion to waive the first reading of the updated policies, P2102, goals of the superintendent, and P2103, evaluation of the superintendent.
Second.
Okay.
Giving that to Gloria.
Okay.
Gloria with the second, because I was looking at her. Okay, all in favor of waiving the first reading of the policies? That's 5-0. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so, policy obviously have been busy bees this year, going through all the various updates. But just to give you a rationale on why these 2 are coming to us tonight. last year, as I suppose we were kind of going through the superintendent evaluation process, you know, we were beginning to discover that, you know, there's updated processes coming out of DESE suggesting that this is best practice to follow in terms of setting goals and doing evaluations. And as we were diving into that, we were discovering our policies needed updating. They had been written quite a while ago, and they weren't exactly lining up with new thinking and kind of processes and formats and stuff in place. So Gloria and I went back, and in your packet there are 4 policies, 2 red line versions, because through our discussions and kind of looking at it, and also Chris Sanders very kindly joined us one of the days to really dive into it as well, having been through the process of evaluation last year. So we redlined 2 of them, and then we've given you 2 completely clean drafts because it's easier to read. And so they really do line up with what we did and what we've been doing as a school committee and in discussions with you, Dr. Chu. And it's really kind of trying to set not just this committee and this superintendent, but future superintendents and future school committees, you know, a kind of a best practice process that is helpful for everybody and is kind of just lets everybody kind of understand how it happens. And I mean, the whole point of it as well is that we achieve, you know, good things for our district through this. So that's why they're here tonight. And so I suppose just to give you a bit of data points, whatever, now that they're open, they would look at going up for public comment tomorrow, and they would be open until April 27th for public comment. We would have opportunity to discuss at the 24th school committee meeting, with a final vote on May 8th to adopt the changes. Any questions?
Nothing.
Well done.
Everybody's happy.
That's for a change. I'm not used to that in my own house.
Yeah,
so.
I know. Take it. Just take it. No, I appreciate you guys have worked really hard on that and gotten good feedback, and I think it's been a good collaborative process. And
I think it's reflective of what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Cleaned up some stuff that didn't need to be in there, which was nice.
Yeah.
I think they're really readable, and so they look great to me.
Awesome.
But we'll see. We'll see what we talk about next time with them. Maybe we'll get some public comment on that. Okay, fantastic. We will have those on the agenda for next time.
Yes.
And then we'll have them up for the vote the time after that.
Yeah. So they should be up in the morning, first thing.
We can just flip that switch, right?
And the packet contains, for each policy, it contains a red line copy that shows what all the changes that were made, proposed changes, and then it has a clean copy, if that's easier to read, so that you can just see what the proposed draft would be.
I think one of the ones that were supposed to be clean looks red line to me.
Oh. Okay.
Let me just check.
Yep, we can.
2103.
In
On
draft?
my version, they look like the same version.
Okay.
Bless you.
Let's
The clean
fix
and the
that
red
then.
line. So
we'll get it up there.
we can retroactively, yeah.
We'll check that.
And then Kathy, this is your first time through one of our policy review cycles, so we can, I don't know if you guys have met yet or talked about it, but we can talk about sort of what we tend to do. It used to be that we had to like manually post it to the website, but now with our database, we really just set it as public comment in the database. I'm not going to give free advertising to them anymore.
What kind of database is it, Chris?
It doesn't matter.
Wow.
Finance Airtable. It's based in Airtable. We just set it to public comment, and then on the website's already has a spot for anything that falls into that category. I'm not explaining it well, but
They walked through it with her.
okay. Oh, great.
They
Okay.
met with her in this folder and this folder and this folder.
Yep. So the upshot is, once we change that, it's up for public comment,
Yeah.
and we do 12
12 days.
yeah.
Excluding holidays, so Patriots Day doesn't count. So
Oh, there
that
you
brings
go.
us up to the 27th.
Okay. Thank you, Policy Subcommittee. And that segues us into review of superintendent review process, or preview in this case. I think we'll keep it brief. I think we wanted to start the thought process early and just remind people that this is coming. Each year, we're trying to like improve our process. I think some things that we learned from last year, we want to do a better form, like doing the PDFs and everybody's editing PDFs, and then we're trying to take that and you're cut and pasting from PDFs. It was not conducive to a nice process. So we'll probably look to have some sort of form that you can edit and that we can easily pull your comments. I keep saying we and pointing at Catherine. Something we've talked about last year, Catherine and I worked on those together. I think in the future, what we probably will do is actually have I'm proposing, we'll talk about this, have a subcommittee. As much as I hate to add another subcommittee, I think because it's one of the 3 key things that the committee does, that it merits a subcommittee, because we have a policy subcommittee, we have a finance subcommittee. So it feels like something, and it ends up just being a fair amount of work to compile those. And as a reminder, the state, and this is something we did for the first time last year, but highly recommends that there's a composite review that speaks with one voice, that incorporates the key, thoughts and feelings of all of the committee members. And so that's the part that takes work, is how do you capture that in a thoughtful way that really is reflective. And so if anyone else wants to help with that, because it could be 3 of us, let me know. I think Catherine and I have already sort of agreed that we would be willing to do that again. We welcome a 3rd if somebody is interested in that. But that will be the process of, we will have a timeline for people to submit their individual evaluation forms, and then we'll come and do that composite again. Then it would come before the committee. We would talk about it. We could edit it, because again, everyone has to sort of agree that that more or less captures the feeling of the group, and then it would get voted on.
Just a point on the subcommittee. It's not also like a full-time subcommittee. So, it's more like finance and policy is clearly a year-long commitment. So that we see this subcommittee as just being part-time.
Yep.
But throughout the year.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
is
one of the
right.
things we benefited
Exactly.
from, was
So
talking about the goals, talking about
Yeah.
a mid-year conversation.
it's not a bi-weekly meeting that.
A little at the beginning, a little in the middle, a little at the end, probably.
It's a little
sort
bit
of.
more sporadic, so.
And so, let me know if you're interested. We'll have more to come. We'll try to get the ball rolling on these things. Early May, When's our first meeting in May?
8th.
May 8th.
May 8th.
We'll probably kick it off then, really.
Yeah.
Or start thinking about it. We'll start working on the form and stuff.
Yeah.
You said May 8th?
May
I think May 8th, we'd
Yeah.
probably
And
have
how
an
does that-
agenda item.
How does that work with the scheduling of a self-assessment?
Well, I believe what we had initially talked about was if I felt like I could get that, my evidence and self-assessment type information to you for that May 8th, and that would be what's kicking it off.
Yeah.
And then you have time to ask questions again. We talked last time about if people have more questions, being able to ask that instead of just, assuming that it is or isn't there.
Yeah. And so we can talk to see if that May 8th is what makes sense.
Yeah.
If it's the 18th, that's fine too.
Yeah, we can look at it.
I mean, I think you end up needing like 3 meetings to really start it, do the middle and do the end. I think that sort of is the right time frame, so we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions on that? All right.
If you adjourn, personnel update. I was about to say, we might beat the clock.
Personnel update, it's in the packet.
I do just want to point out Brendan Nkanja is our data specialist, and she will be leaving Westford Public Schools, and we're very sad to see her go. It is a separation that will take place within the next few weeks, so we are actively looking to fill that role, and it is not an easy role to fill. So if you know anybody with experience with database management and configuration, somebody who might have experience with student information software, please send them our way, and we'll bring them in for an interview.
Awesome.
But we'll miss her, and we wish her well.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Gary, do we normally list long-term substitute positions on these? I saw a long-term substitute position, and I was just curious, like, is there any significance to that, or we're just?
No, there was no recent change to it. So
Okay.
if there was a change, I'm not aware of something that initiated that.
I didn't know if it changed from like a personnel standpoint, if it the moment that we turn them into a long-term substitute, if it like changed the bucket that that particular employee was in or something like that. I mean, it's all just salaries, right?
Right. So I'm not quite sure why that, although I'd have to look back at the others.
Yeah, I'm just curious if there's something significant about it, or no. Okay.
Right, I think it's just because it's more salary oriented that it's
I
listed
see.
on here, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?